Hello and welcome back to the Manifold TCG Player Appreciation Open, the first one. I'm Alex, joined by
Adam here at Aegis Games in Bellingham, Washington.
Yeah, really looking forward to this here. This is the fourth and final round of our Swiss before we are going to cut to a top four. Today we have LL, or at least in this round, we have LL versus Mario, and we're going to have a couple of pretty sweet decks going on here. So on LL's side, it looks like our players still haven't gotten their principles out quite yet, but we'll spoil it. Sorry, heroes. We'll spoil a little bit. We have another Jolia deck, Julia on. But,
Jolia and Roan.
Yeah, Roan. So what's going to be a little bit different as opposed to what we saw with Noble's deck?
Yeah. So, here, I'll pull it up. So Jolia's thing, like we saw last round, is making your support characters better. And she does this by taking dice that are in your pool and converting them into dice counters that then make your guys better. Roan has a different... Roan makes your guys better in different ways.
Yeah.
So Roan here, like we saw in round one, it says whenever you activate a character, you may exhaust a servo you control to roll red. And just as a little bit of insight, LL got a pre-con deck and then got a bunch of singles and customized it herself instead of like starting with the full thing. And so this is awesome, at least to me, because LL got here from like a seeing what works and building on it type of thing instead of like a starting from a bird's eye view of every card that exists.
Yeah, this was an iterative process to get to this
exactly.
stack list that Ella's
and
really been using very effectively in this tournament. These two players are 2-1, I believe, so the winner of this match should basically guarantee themselves a slot in our top four.
I believe that's close to... actually, I don't think that's actually correct. I'm pretty confident that LL is 1-2 and Mario is 2-1.
Oh, really?
2-1. No, it's... All I know is Brad told me before the last round. Mario, if Mario wins, he potentially gets in top four on breakers. I'm pretty confident LL is not live for top four.
Unfortunate.
Yes.
But regardless, that brings us to a great situation to talk about our first 45-point general that we have seen yet. And that's on Mario's side, Iton. You want to take the reins on this one?
Yeah, so there's one 45-pointer in each color. And if you remember, you get 45 points. And you get to play cards in your deck of the colors that your heroes are. Which means... Iton, if you're playing Iton, you're only playing Iton, and you're only playing green cards.
Yeah. So needless to say, we only get one hero here with Iton.
Yeah.
So the effect is quite powerful.
Yes.
So when
45s
activated,
are awesome.
You may play a character with this paying green towards it, and Iton has two separate energy abilities.
Yep. Iton is one of the very few ways in the game to spend 6 gems on round 1. You can play 3 different 15-pointers that each say when activated play a card with this paying a gem towards it, but they need to be in different colors and they all need to play different card types, so it's really hard to make it work. Your only other option is Iton.
Yeah.
So Iton will have the most gems in the room.
Yeah, so we saw a green-red deck earlier that Lucinda was playing that used the green cards to kind of go over the top.
Yes.
The support green cards are really sort of the green's identity for how they're trying to win the game, right?
Yeah,
you see a lot of the red cards, and the yellow cards, maybe they prioritize their hero zone a little bit more. Yeah. That's a lot of the win con. The green cards really like to be able to play the cards from their support deck. Yep. So, and Iton is the absolute best at doing that. So, we're going to be able to take a look here and see whether or not the strict mana advantage that Mario has is going to be able to overcome the sort of stacking recursion and the iterative advantage that LL is going to be trying to assembling, admittedly, probably a little slower.
It really depends on which side of LL's deck she sees. So I actually... what was it, a week and a half ago or so, I walked in at the last second to a Manifold tournament, and Ella was like, "Here, play this deck," because she was playing one of Brad's decks, and so I played Ella's deck here basically as it is now with a couple of small tweaks. And what I noticed is there's 2 things that it does very well. One is play a bunch of servos. You've got Follow the Trail, you've got Radar Servo, you've got Minuteman Sergeant. You play a bunch of servos. When you activate one, you get to exhaust another to roll red dice with Roan. Play a bunch of guys that all are kind of must-answer threats. Because we've seen time and time again that Chain Plasma Rifle that rolls just 2 red dice is awesome.
So good.
When Minuteman Sergeant here activates to roll red and then exhausts the Sentinel it comes with to roll another red, that's just a Chain Plasma Rifle.
It's a DIY Chain Plasma Rifle.
But also, your Sentinel can, like, activate to ping something, and then or a different thing can exhaust to roll red.
Yeah.
Like you have a bunch more options than just red, right? So Roan really takes your bunch of little guys and powers them up. The other side of LL's deck is Animus Golem, like we saw from Noble that he didn't actually use very much, to stack a bunch of color counters, and a bunch of ways to just grow your board with color counters.
Yeah, so if you had to take a guess as to which side of the deck you'd rather see from LL's side in this matchup, which half would you be more... What do you think is going to interact better with what Mario is doing?
I don't care what you're doing. I want to draw 3 energy retracers in literally every game always. And LL has 3 energy retracers, and when playing her deck, I was like, okay, I'm gonna shuffle back card. At the start of the game, you get to shuffle back cards to try to get what you want. I just went all in for energy retracer every time, and it's great. This card's amazing.
Yeah, energy retracer, a real standout staple in the early formats so far. This card's making waves. It's been making waves since before the game released.
Yep. And so my goal is get energy retracer, put them on something.
Doesn't really matter.
Animus Golem, great. Little servos, great. Either way, we just want support characters. And we want then to buff them up. That's the goal. Play little guys, make them bigger. So going into the game here, we've got LL activating Roan just for dice, and then Mario activates Iton to play Mana Proliferator. Ooh. There we are. First time we've seen this on stream. 2-drop rolls green. Whenever one of our dice counters are put on this, roll black.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a...
Good.
This is very much Mario's version of kind of trying to establish the big engine, but he is immediately just met with the
by a
perfect answer.
Thug.
And this is another card that's really making splashes in these yellow color. Man, Docile Thug, it seems innocuous at first read, but man, when you watch what it just did, for 2 gems,
you ate their 2 gems.
You get a
Straight
thing
up.
that rolls red and killed his thing that cost 2 gems. So, I mean, what a hugely tempo positive play. And we notice here that just with that interaction alone, LL is already caught up to the tempo that Mario is trying to have from Iton. Yeah. So, he's going to have that every turn, but, with small favorable interactions, LL is really going to be able to accrue large advantages with her large quantities of dice that she's presumably going to have in comparison to Mario.
Absolutely. So here we have a Hilltop Astronomer.
Yeah, so we see Mario continuing to try to
this is neat, actually. So Hilltop Astronomer, 2-drop rolls pink. When activated, you can turn this to your hand to put a black counter on an Eidolon or support character you control. This guy is really, really resource intensive to actually do much with. Like, yes, it's a 2-drop that rolls purple dice. Great. But in order to really, play it, bounce it, play it, bounce it, play it, or whatever, you need a bunch of gems, and Iton, that's perfect for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But LL is just going to immediately snap off the Search and Destroy, which will kill the Hilltop Astronomer.
Yeah, so LL playing a really efficient sort of counter-infrastructure plan here.
Almost efficient. Mario's got 2 gems left, LL doesn't, but if Mario uses those 2 gems to play a 2-drop that rolls a premium dice or whatever, then the board states are Docile Thug sitting there versus whatever Mario plays for 2 gems, and we're about even.
We're about even, yeah.
One of the neat things about 45s is that they have 30 health, which for 45 points is I think the worst health to point ratio you can get. They are the smallest amount of health you can get in a hero line.
Yeah, so comparatively, obviously LL has 2 16s, which adds to 32.
You can get 4 11s, which adds to 40. That's like your biggest one, right? And it just goes up from there. The trade-off is that when 45s die, the game is over, which means you can't just kill one of your opponents. One of your 21s can't die, thus halving your infrastructure. You're either in it or you're not.
Yeah,
there's no break point.
I've mentioned a couple times before that one of the important early decisions you make when playing a game of Manifold is which hero you're going to go after, because most decks have more than one.
Yeah.
Obviously, this does not have more than one, so it kind of solves that problem, but also has 30 HP.
Yeah.
So it's not going to die, and you're going to lose access to that value. So that's why it has, respectively less HP, because you have to deal all 30 points of damage before you get any real benefit from having done any of the damage. Dealing 29 points of damage doesn't actually do anything.
Exactly.
Whereas if you dealt 10 damage to an 11-point principal, you kill it.
Yep.
So
really, the problem that I want to bring up with this though is the other thing you pay. No, it's not just health; it's also dice.
Yeah.
Iton here rolls blue, purple, which is 3 premium dice. Unfortunately, Roan, Jalia, and Inspired, that's on that Jalia, rolls 5 dice. So not only basically what I'm trying to say here is, if LL gets to a point where in a round she's established a 2-drop that rolls a premium dice and Mario's established a 2-drop that rolls premium dice, she also rolled 2 extra dice and has more health.
Yeah, so every turn that they go even,
yeah,
LL is winning.
Exactly.
Mario is trying to pull ahead by using his cumulative 1 gem advantage, and LL is trying to pull ahead by using her cumulative dice advantage.
And look at it. This is an incredible example of this. Mario uses diplomatic meeting to sabotage LL's dice. That's perfect for LL. That's exactly what LL wants. Because look at this. End of the round, she has a support character that rolls 2 premium dice, and Mario has nothing to show for it. Health doesn't even matter. Dice don't even matter. LL is up by so much right now, because just on board, LL rolls 7 premium dice, Mario rolls 3, and he wasn't able to use that gem to make anything that lasts.
Yeah, because the Docile Thug was such an absolute beating this turn. That 1 gem advantage that Mario had really didn't end up.
And just killing the Hilltop Astronomer and not letting him activate, bounce, play it again, activate was great. That was
good.
And usually using a 3-gem removal spell on a 2-drop isn't great. Here, it was exactly what she needed.
Yeah, I think it's a really good display of threat recognition from LL. Because you mentioned that Hilltop Astronomer is kind of a. You read that card, and in a lot of decks that don't synergize super well with it, it would seem underpowered maybe.
I mean, it's a 2-drop that rolls a premium dice. That's fine.
It's not bad, but when you compare it to Docile Thug, right? Docile Thug clearly has a better effect. But when you start abusing Hilltop Astronomer, it starts to get ridiculous. So LL shut it off the first chance she got. She said, close that door immediately, and it ended up being great because, let's be honest, Mario probably would have spent that 2 mana on the Hilltop Astronomer again instead of that diplomatic meeting. It was kind of underwhelming.
Yep. So it looks like L's dealing 2 damage to Iton, I think. Maybe it was 0, but it looked like she had 1 damage and 2 damage side to eat the shield and then deal 2. But either way, Elle has a place to put her counters from Jalia going forward. She's got the Docile Thug. Now, it's not shielded, but there's a lot to say about the exact removal that is available to different colors.
Yes, exactly. And this is the other cost that you have of playing a one-colored deck. Yeah. In other games, you have problems with your colors being hard, or the mana casting costs of various spells, like in Magic in particular, right? The colors of the spells really matter. But in this game, you get to add a locale of your choice every turn.
Yeah.
So you're not often going to be unable to cast your cards. So it really is kind of just a disadvantage to not be given access to a second color.
Exactly. I have bad news for Mario here.
No.
I'm looking at his deck list. He has exactly 4 cards in his deck that kill Docile Thug.
Oof.
And Docile Thug isn't even a big threat here. It just rolls 2 premium dice and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
He can't even quickly, easily deal with it and then move on or whatever. It'll just sit there rolling. Even if he ends up wanting to kill it or whatever, it's going to take exactly one of the 3 Engulfing Stones or the 1 Starfallen Warrior to wipe the board to deal with it.
Yeah.
And Ella's just going to keep moving on to other things, and that'll just sit there forever accruing value.
And here we see LL play perhaps my favorite card in the whole set, Surveillance Drone. Surveillance Drone, for a single gem, is going to allow you to look at your opponent's hand. Recon Drone?
No, Surveillance Drone. I
This is
can't spell
Surveillance
surveillance.
There we go. This is perhaps my favorite card in the whole set. And it's so good right here. Because
information matters a
LL
lot.
gets the perfect information. She sees Witch Bolt, Ritual
Witchfire,
Circle, Witchfire, Ritual Circle, Federation Healer, and Return to Soil. She knows exactly the 4 cards in Mario's hand, and she can play around them perfectly. And now she knows that her Docide Thug is safe.
Exactly.
And she knows that if she were to play like an Animus Golem,
it's safe.
It would be safe. And that's
because
huge.
Witchfire deals 1 damage to anything, which means she shouldn't put counters on Surveillance Drone. And I hope she recognizes that and doesn't put counters on Surveillance Drone.
Yeah, but
as long as she doesn't put counters on Surveillance Drone, none of her other stuff can get interacted with. So it looks like she's going to play... I think she's going to play the Animus Golem in her hand, and we're going to see a phenomenally awesome Animus Golem game.
And this is why I love Surveillance Drone so much. Because, right, if you were LL here and you didn't play the Surveillance Drone, there's no way, I won't say no way, but like, you would be really tempted to just put another counter on your Docide Thug.
Totally.
Or just activate the Docide Thug, right?
Or put the counter on your Surveillance Drone or whatever you
spread out,
whatever one drop you played.
But now that you know that he's got a Return to Soil, you're like, okay, I don't need to bother with this structure.
Just don't play structures.
Just don't play it, right? You know, he's got Witchfire. I don't need to deal with that. And now he's committed his resources to the Ritual Circle. And Ritual Circle, this might be the first time we've seen it in play today.
Yes,
and this is...
Ritual Circle's great.
This card's making splashes as well. This is an absolute green staple. You want to go in a little bit on how these Ritual Circle decks function? Ritual Circle is really a win condition.
Yes. So you, it's a 4-drop that rolls a red dice, which is undervalued for what it could be. But when activated, you can put up to 3 events from your discard onto the bottom of your deck to shoot something for that much damage, or up to 3.
Yeah.
Which means A, it can ping off shields, which is great. A 4-drop that rolls red and just pings off a shield is good. A 4-drop that activates, rolls a red, and then deals 3 damage to a hero is amazing.
So good.
So let's see. Witchfire's just going to eat the Prolific Tutor.
Yeah.
Which continues making space for that Animus Golem to never die.
Yeah, I think that was a really good choice by LL to just be willing to trade it out, especially if she has another one.
This is going to be awesome. I hope Ella does it right. Okay, so Mario has all his stuff exhausted. He's going to shield some stuff. He's going to resolve another shield 1, and then he's done. He has no more dice. He has no more gems. We're going to see an okay, so let me explain how Animus Golem.
Yeah. Let's get Prolific Tutor up. Let's get Animus Golem up. Yeah, so LL, here comes the Animus Golem. She's going to go absolutely off here. Animus Golem says whenever you add a color counter,
I'll go back to that.
Put an additional color counter of the same color. Prolific Tutor, quite a nice synergy with this. When activated, you may move a dice counter.
And moving, by definition, is remove a counter, add a counter. And so that means Jalia here is going to put... is going to roll some dice, remove 2 green dice, put 2 green dice on Animus Golem, because instead of just putting 1, it puts 2. And then Prolific Tutor can move the green counter from Docide Thug onto Animus Golem, which will result in 2. So Animus Golem will theoretically activate with 4 green dice and a white this round. So she can... How many premium dice is this? So it's 2, because you activate the Docide Thug, roll 2 premium dice, and then activate the Prolific Tutor, and then the Animus Golem rolling 4 more. So she's just going to roll 1,000,000 dice right now.
Yeah. So
okay, well, that's fine. Whatever.
She's taking a slightly less greedy route, but
she's doing the thing I told her to do. Okay, well.
It's worth noting that maybe if you're at home, maybe take notes, because what Adam just said was the manifold definition of having your cake and eating it too.
So the thing I just said is the most greedy play possible.
Greediest possible, which is good here because we know that Mario can't stop it.
We know Mario's deck list. LL doesn't.
Well, she does know his hand though.
Well, yeah, but you're drawing. but yeah,
I know.
That's
fair. So it's still reasonable to not take the greediest line even after you've seen their hand, because it's really easy to draw cards on this game.
Totally.
So it's not like LL's just making a strictly mistake here. I think this play is actually quite good, very reasonable.
I bet you Prolific Tutor moves a counter from Animus Golem onto Jalia.
I would love that.
Interesting. Okay, sure.
No.
There we go. That's exactly
I really like this play.
Yeah, so there's this neat thing where Animus Golem is... There's one version of the game in which Animus Golem goes tall and you put 30 counters on, you activate, and you roll 1,000,000 dice and you win. It is a 2 durability mechanical character, which is kind of one of the easiest things to kill in the entire game.
Yeah, it means it dies a lot. I mean, there are 3 copies of this Oxidize card here in Mario's deck, which notably will kill Animus Golem, but won't kill the Docide Thug that has counters.
Dies to examine specimens. Dies to Starfallen Warrior. You can use Witchfire to take off the counter and then do any of these. There's a million ways to kill Animus Golem. So what she's doing instead is is she's using it as a battery, not as a I don't know,
not as a super tall, super win condition, right?
So step 1, move a counter onto it. It becomes 2 counters. Then move the counter off of it. And then you can keep doing that, and you can make it so that Animus Golem never has more than like 2 or 3 counters on it.
But it still has to die.
It still has to die, and it buffs up the rest of your board so much.
Yeah, so
because now you're not moving 1 counter and then moving 1 counter. You're moving 1 counter and then moving 2 counters, and now it grows.
Yeah, it becomes a really, really big problem very, very quickly, and it just really goes to show the power of versatility of Animus Golem. It reads as it's just going to be the win con the first time you say it, but when you start putting cards like Prolific Tutor into the mix and moving the counters around, you can turn Animus Golem from just the card that's going to roll 30 dice and kill you into a card that's going to roll 30 dice and also, but it did it by putting them all over your board instead of just it. So it gives you a lot of installation, and I really like what Ella is doing because, Mario, with the only green deck, it's going to draw a lot of cards. And even though she knew he didn't have anything right then, this is still enough pressure that Mario has to dig and fast. And it's so much less risky because if he draws the answer, then she's still going to be in a great spot.
Because if you just went super tall on Animus Golem and then Mario kills it, you didn't get very far.
Yeah, we rolled some dice last time.
You're putting your counters on Jalia, who you want to protect anyway, and it's great. So that Roan is able to turn that surveillance drone into rolling a red dice functionally, because instead of activating it to roll black, he's activating and then you're exhausting it to roll red. And that's one half of the deck. The other half is this Animus Golem package, and both are working.
Yeah, it's really scary to watch the deck just really churning through in full force right now.
A lot of dice.
So many dice, and it just looks so powerful. It's hard to imagine what Mario is really going to be able to do to counter this. And I think it might start with, this Ritual Circle could be a big factor in his plans here. Ritual Circle, one of the most consistent ways to, actually churn out repeated damage. On top of that,
that's not the right one.
He's going to be digging for his removal spells and looking for additional high-value structures and various support characters that he can put into play, so that he can try to catch back up.
Yeah.
But really, step 1 for Mario, I think, if he wants to make a splash in this game at all, he has to deal with this Animus Golem.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any way you can realistically beat it.
I agree.
In the long game.
So he plays a Wasteland Requiem here, which is going to put a yellow counter on a Eidolon he controls.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's fine. I think that the thing he needs is Starfallen Warrior, of which he has 1 in his deck.
Ooh, only 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Starfallen Warrior functionally says 5 cost when it comes into play exhaust this to deal 2 damage to each other character, meaning he could Witchfire the Animus Golem and then play Starfallen Warrior and just wipe Elo's board.
Yeah. It's worth noting that LL perhaps even played around this last turn by playing the 2 copies of the Prolific Student to get that Witchfire out of Mario's hand. So
absolutely,
this is a really well set up sequence here. Actually, I think that she really played into Mario's hand very well. Yeah. It might not be the absolute fastest kill you immediately line she could have taken, but it's so resilient to anything that could go wrong that I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing here from this side of the field. On the other side, let's talk a little bit about Mario, because he is doing some sweet stuff.
No, absolutely.
It's just hard to compete with Animus Golem.
So, Surging Euphoria, which is what's being played right now, puts a red counter on any character you control, and then he gets to activate up to 3 objects with dice counters on them. And so he's getting right now, it looks like there's no shield on Roan, and so Mario's going to get to roll a bunch of dice and use Ritual Circle to shoot 3 damage into Roan, and that's good. He's rolling good dice. He's doing good damage.
Yeah. What do you think about Mario's decision to target the Roan this game as opposed to the Jolly?
The only reason that you would go after Jollia is knowing what is in. So okay. I think
you would have to know which half of the deck she drew.
Exactly. Yeah. If Mario draws 4 servos and no Animus Golem, it's so obvious you go after Roan. But that's not what happened.
You can never know that.
Yeah. And if he deals, he dealt 3 to Roan, so switching targets isn't the end of the world. But also, it's still 3 damage before you hit the break point. And the whole point of Jalia is if Jalia lives one more round, then she'll keep growing. You really want Jalia to if Jalia's going to die. You know that going into any game because she's always a target because she makes the rest of your board so much bigger. And so you're really hoping for 3 rounds out of her instead of 2, or 4 rounds instead of 3, or whatever. So if you deal 4 to Roan and then switch to Jalia, that's just another round that Jalia gets to go off. At that point, you might as well just go after Roan. Now, I definitely could be wrong in that every board state's different and all
of
that
course,
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But,
and the game is so new, the meta is really still developing. So,
Yeah.
we're learning alongside here, how reasonable it is. It looks like it. I don't really know if just pointing damage at Jalia would have been the difference at this point, but Mario is doing a good job. So, like,
Mario's
one thing,
rolling good dice.
Yeah, he's rolling good dice, and the one thing that I will say is that, the advantage LL has accrued so far has yet to really transition.
Yeah, that's true.
Into like a pressing pressure.
And that. Yeah, and so that's one of the tricks here. So Jalia rolls a green dice, and the yellow Prestige rolls green, which means Jalia activates and rolls 2 green dice, and then puts green counters everywhere. And you're like, yay, great, a bunch of green dice. Turns out, green dice don't win the game.
They're not the best at it.
They have 1 mental damage and 2 mental damage on them, which is fine. That means a third of the time you're rolling damage. But they have 1 draw, 2 draw, and 1 rend on the other sides, and then a blank. And so 2/3 of the time you're not rolling damage, so you can roll like 10 green dice and still not kill their hero. If you were rolling red dice, you would just obliterate them. And so even if LL super goes off and gets counters everywhere and does all this nonsense, there's a decent chance that Mario just rolls a bunch of dice and kills her.
Yeah.
That just happens.
Absolutely. And, we can see, right, like, Iton, 29 HP. We saw a Federation healer that we got a little sneak preview.
Our board list.
Our Federation, and that came in and did some healing. And, he's looking rather topped off. He's not in any danger of dying.
Agreed.
Anytime soon.
LL's going to make a million dice this round, and then he'll take 15 damage.
Yeah,
but exactly right now, he's at 29.
Right now,
no problem.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. And this is where we're gonna see that dice advantage that LL had start to come into play, as Mario's going to be really trying to optimize exactly how he's going to be using these 2 energies. We see shield, 2 shield, I believe that's 1 rend, and then 3 energy.
Yeah, so energy's real good on Iton.
Iton, one of the best energy using generals in the entire game.
Absolutely.
So really, I think Mario actually has a lot of play here with the dice he has. I'm really curious to see how he's going to try to convert this to deal with what LL is presenting, which at a glance appears to be lots of damage.
I'm surprised that LL didn't choose to use Jalia's ability. Oh, no, she did. It's just that's a dice now, a dice 3 instead of a little square counter.
Counters.
Yeah, okay,
correct. Yeah,
that's fine. I think personally, she should have taken those 2 red shield dice and used them and made 2 red counters on Absalom.
I like that,
to get away from the thing I just said, where green dice don't win the game.
Yeah. When I've played this particular deck, I played something similar, but Jalia decks in general, it feels like you're very good at rolling these green dice that kind of keep you rolling more green dice that draw more cards, that roll more green dice that draw more cards. Absolutely. And then sometimes you die in the middle of that, and it sucks because I want to keep going off. But yeah, when you have the ability to randomly cash in a red dice counter, you can start really killing your opponent really fast.
Totally.
So we see, looks like Mario's debating. He's going to go ahead and pop that shield dice there. He's going to put a shield onto Iton, an extra shield onto his support character there.
Wasteland Requiem.
Yeah, LL. She's got a couple shield hanging out, some draw effects with her green dice, but not a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I only see a 2 damage face, so...
Honestly, it's fine. That is a Talpat Enforcers. Huh, neat. Talpat Enforcers is... Is that a Talpat Enforcers in play? I can barely tell.
Which card?
Right there. Yeah, that's a Talpat Enforcers.
I believe it is.
Yeah. Okay, so Talpat Enforcers here has a rival resolve it to 3 dice as though they showed physical damage. And I don't know if she did that and it went anywhere. Yeah, a lot of times you play this like, here's 6 damage, and you turn your 4 draw and 2 shield or whatever into 6 damage. It's a big surprise. And it looks like Elle has 1 Talpan Forces in her deck, so you can really get someone with it. But here it just looks like she played it to roll dice and fine.
Just played it for some value. I think she used it to do like 1 damage to ping off a shield.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is honestly
that's fine.
Super good. Because this card rolls 3 dice. It costs 5 gems. Sure, it's expensive, but you already have your infrastructure up and running.
Totally.
It's really going to contribute to that next turn. It rolls red dice. I really cannot state enough how important it is to be killing your opponent when you have an advantage like this, because we mentioned Mario has that Starfallen Warrior in his deck. If he starts drawing some cards, he rips the Starfallen Warrior, this board could look vastly different in a blink of an eye.
As long as I am a little bit hesitant on saying that now that the Animus Golem and the Docide Thug each have shields on them, and so dealing 2 damage to each character is like, sure, I'll kill your 2 servos and a Prolific Tutor, which is relevant, but it's not, the end of the world.
You really want to see, like, if you're Mario, like, Witchfire into Starfallen Warrior,
so you can
just clean this whole thing up. So nice.
Kill the Animus Golem.
Because there aren't even any counters on the Docide Thug anymore. They all got moved because of the Prolific Tutor. So the Animus Golem really is kind of going tall at this point. Now, it feels like Elle kind of felt out that, like, there really is not anything that can kill this Animus Golem. From Mario's side, she got a shield on it. That probably increased her confidence now that it's protected from Oxidize. Cards that I'm sure she's thinking about, right?
And it looks like Mario isn't playing any copies of Examine the Specimens.
Really? That's surprising to me. That's a really good green removal spell.
One of my favorite green removal spells. And, like, I'm not here to say that he should be playing it or whatever. I just think that it would be really useful against the Animus Golem. Yeah, be really good here. Because then you could, take the shield off the Animus Golem and kill the Prolific Tutor, or Witchfire the Animus Golem and then kill both of them, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, so without he's drawn some cards since we last saw his hand, obviously, but, without one of those sort of small interactive elements, he's going to have a really hard time dealing with the shielded Animus Golem. It's rolling 3 green dice per turn right now, and obviously it's only going to get worse from here. So, he's got to be feeling like the clock is really running out. Obviously, here's that damage that was churning in. It didn't even look like it was going to be that much not too long ago, and then sure enough, we end up dealing 13 damage to Iton, and all of a sudden...
Yeah, well, if you don't remove the Animus Golem, it's going to be bad. Like, that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, Animus Golem needs to die.
Animus Golem is a very swingy... is accurate, but not the word I'm looking for here. Animus Golem's a polarizing card.
That's a great word.
You either answer it or you don't, and the Animus Golem player has to know. Every color can deal with Animus Golem. Every deck has cards that can kill it one way or another, destroy a character, or deal 1 and then deal damage to it, or whatever, right? So as the Animus Golem player, you're never safe, which means no matter who you're playing against, you have to play as though they have removal. On the other side, you need removal, right? So either way, it forces the game to kind of center around itself.
It often does.
One way or the other. You can't just kind of ignore it.
No, Animus Golem...
I don't think that Mario doesn't know that.
I
think he just hasn't drawn the removal cards to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, we saw his hand and he didn't have any answers. And I'm sure he would have played it if he'd drawn it by now.
Totally.
So, this can really happen. It's a polarizing card. If you pay 3 mana and it just gets killed for cheap, your opponent plays like a blue card, Excommunicatus, or something like that. Single blue gem deals 2 damage, just kills an Animus Golem. You're feeling
you pay 3, they pay
bad.
1, you're down.
Yeah, especially if you activate a Jalea and put a counter on it. You're like,
totally.
It
sucks.
I'm like shuffling up for the next game if that happens to me. I'm out, right? But on the flip side, if you put your Jalea counter on the Animus Golem and then activate it and it doesn't die, then your opponent wants to shuffle up, right?
Now we're cooking with fire.
Yeah, so I think Animus Golem is really one of the higher skill testing cards in this first set of Manifold here, because
I agree.
I don't want to say it's like, warping or defining or anything, but it's a card you really have to be on the lookout for anytime you see a Jalea on the
It's one of the, like, if you had to pick 10 cards in the set that you need to know exist in order to play competitively, it's one of those.
That's definitely one of them. It's
regardless of how good it actually is in terms of like tournament results.
Yeah,
you at least need to know it exists so you can play around it and all that.
Absolutely, because you should expect to, if you play your fair share of Manifold TCG, you're going to lose to an Aegis Games once or twice. It's going to happen.
Exactly.
It's happened to a lot of us, and you have to take some catharsis in just watching your opponent roll those Yahtzee dice. Making the sounds. You got to enjoy it at least a little bit.
Yeah, the worst part is when they roll like 5 dice on Aegis Games, you're like, okay, this sucks, but I'll deal with it at some point. And then you just like don't, and the next round they roll 14 dice. You're like, okay.
It's like, how did we get here, man?
Yeah. And so you can see here, Mario's going to play an Evergreen Patriarch, which is a good card, right? It's fine. It rolls dice and draws cards and modifies. But it's not answering Animus Golem.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Animus Golem is continuing to be spooky.
Continuing to run away with the game.
You know what I just realized? That is super, super cool that you can do? LL gets to... Remember how I said it rolls a bunch of green dice and doesn't end the game, right? Roan makes red dice, so you can start the round, activate Roan, make a red dice with a servo. Next turn, activate Jalia, trigger Roan, exhaust another servo, roll a red dice. Now take both of those red dice right then and there and turn them into the thing.
I love that.
And so you don't even lose time in doing that. You just get to create a pile of red dice.
That's actually really sweet. I like that. And we see once again...
And that's what's happening.
That's what's happening right now. Yeah, we see once again these red cards are really making up for the tempo that these sort of greedier yellow-green decks are looking for. And, we see over on the other side that the mono-green deck is really struggling to keep up. He's playing a lot of expensive 3-4 mana cards. He's playing, cards that just aren't synergizing nearly as heavily together as
they
LL's
are.
cards.
They're just not good enough. The synergies just aren't
The synergies aren't as powerful, right? The green cards are more about individual power.
Yes.
Right? Whereas LL played a 3-mana 2 durability card that rolls a white dice, and in a few
Prolific
turns,
Tutor rolls no dice, and she's played 2 of them, and played a couple servos that just roll 1 bad dice. Like on its core, none of LL's board does anything.
Yeah,
but together it's all synergy.
Which is why in a slightly different world where Mario has a Oxidize for an Animus Golem, maybe with a Witchfire alongside of it, or something like that, maybe a Starfallen Warrior, right? He doesn't need to actually kill that much of LL's board to be like
to break
winning.
To break the synergies in half.
Yeah, he really was one critical piece of interaction away from being quite ahead this game, I think, even after a relatively rough turn 1.
I'm a big fan of removing the red dice and the red sheet. Yeah, exactly. Those two.
Yeah.
Put 2 red counters on Animus Golem here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably activate the Animus Golem and then move one off with Prolific Tutor onto something else and then activate that.
Yeah, we're just trying to win the game this time.
Yeah. Just roll as many red dice as humanly possible right here, right now.
Bin the whole hand, I think.
Well, and Jalia says roll black, and she's got 2 energy there, so that's 4 black dice.
Yeah, I think we're
rolling a bunch of dice here.
We did a little interview with Noble at the end of the last round, and he mentioned just how good Jalia's E ability is, and it really is. I mean, we've talked a lot about Jalia and how good her general gameplay is.
Turns out she's an important card.
Yeah, but her E is perhaps the most slept on part of the card. It's one
Which
of
is
the
kind of
best
crazy to think about because it's probably the best energy ability in the game.
It very easily could be.
Yeah,
rolling 2 dice for single energy, so powerful, even if they aren't premium dice, especially because
you're turning 1 boon dice into 2 boon dice.
Yeah, super good. So, and those dice all have energy on them as well.
Yeah.
So
the black dice don't.
The black dice don't, but the white dice do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, it really turns out pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mario's going to make dice, and I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that Mario proves me wrong and kills Jalia this round or something, and then is able to remove the Animus Golem at the start of the next round, and then we have a very good game.
It's real close.
I'm really worried that Elo's just gonna die. You're just gonna kill him.
Look, I've lost to Animus Golem more than once.
Yeah.
It usually looks less bad than this.
Yeah. And
so I think he's really dead.
Do you think LL has an energy retracer in hand? She's got yellow,
I think she does, dude.
Yeah.
I think she does.
I sure hope so. Because then she can eat that red 2 damage.
Yeah.
And then put 2 red counters on an Animus Golem and a 1 on itself.
We're just done here if that happens.
I mean, I feel like she would have done it right here, right now, if that was in her hand, but like,
yeah,
maybe not.
probably.
Yeah.
Well, I guess she could potentially bait it here because she knows that Mario is going to have to remove the shield with the 1 damage.
Yeah, which he
first,
just did.
So that actually, I mean, I actually like this play even a lot more because now you force your opponent into making a play with suboptimal information, and then you get to really capitalize, especially because he's got a couple purple dice sitting around there. So getting both of the red dice out of there so that they can't get modified back at a later point.
I don't think that's what's happening, but
unfortunately, no energy retracer now for the.
Yeah. Turns out when we were like, wow, it would be so good if she had energy retracer right now. That's just literally every moment of every game. So like,
anytime you have 3 topaz mines
you're like,
and another one, you're like,
we could have
this would be a good energy retracer spot.
It turns out they're all good.
I have energy retracered blank dice more times than I care to admit. It's so busted.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even care if that didn't do anything for you. Like I just want my counters, man.
I just want more dice.
Yeah. Okay, so here came the big Animus Golem dice roll from LL. Lots of blanks, honestly.
Yeah, that's fine. They're all so. I say how green dice don't end the game. Green dice roll draw, which you then draw cards with to discard cards to reroll your red dice. So like.
That is the general play pattern.
Yeah.
So it really does snowball.
It does snowball.
It really snowballs. We've been saying that the dice, the cumulative dice, is generally the best way to judge who is winning at a glance. A singular or a manifold game.
And Elo's got more health, right? She's got 16 plus 9 health. Mario has 16 health.
Yeah.
Elo's 9 health up, and also all these dice in her pool.
Yeah. So. Notably, I think she does have less. Total gem worth of permanence in play, but boy, are they much better.
What do we got here? We got Black Market Profiteer. Oh, man.
Is that another Animus Golem? Or is that
I don't think so. Oh, yeah, it is.
Another Animus
It's
Golem.
just not as good right now.
Yeah. The second copy of Animus Golem, not nearly as good, unless the first copy of Animus Golem dies. And then it's great.
Because if she had right now just played Animus Golem and then moved one of the red counters from an Animus Golem onto 2 red counters on the next one, that's pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet, yeah.
Meanwhile, Black Market Profiteer is going to trade with trade adjacent with this Wasteland Requiem. So Black Market Profiteer, just like the Weapons Officer we saw in the first round, costs 4 and bounces a non-mechanical support and then takes damage equal to that card's durability. And so if it's bouncing something with 2 or 1 durability, then it sticks around. Otherwise, it just bounces whatever it wants and dies.
Yeah. Functions similarly to a removal spell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so in this case, LL doesn't care that the Wasteland Requiem is in Mario's hand again. He's not going to have time to play it.
Yeah, he's going to die
before it matters. Yeah.
So once again, I think this is a really good tempo play
Totally.
here from LL.
I've actually been quite impressed by exactly what she chooses to remove and what she chooses to let live.
Yeah, me too. I think this is a very well played game from her side, to be honest. I maybe would have rolled better on that Animus Golem if I had to give one critique.
Next
That's a
time
lot of blank dice.
Roll dice better.
Yeah, so I think she might need to work on that. But other than that, really sound gameplay. So, and on top of that, even with that poor roll, she's still got a lot of damage showing.
Oh
even
and she'll discard a bunch of cards to reroll them and. Assuming she has cards. Well, it doesn't even matter if she has cards in hand. She can modify 1 with that black dice into draw 2 on one of the greens, and then draw 2 and then re-roll twice.
Yeah, and that might find
and
more
she's already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's got 8 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh yeah, you're right. I thought that was a draw.
And that's 8. It's half of Iton's health, and then if you re-roll, imagine you hit 2 damage on 3 out of those. She's just modifying to damage.
Modifying to damage. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, great.
Dealer's choice, really, at this point. I mean, you can kind of throw a dart at the wall, and it's hard to go wrong.
And it'll take a shield off of Iton.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with damage, right? Just
totally.
Clocking your opponent at every chance. Your opponent is going to have to deal these, this remaining. Going to have to kill all of Jolliet and finish off Roan before Iton dies, and That's not to mention that Animus Golem is still the highest priority on the board.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
The problems are just stacking up
Yeah.
for Mario, and yeah, I think if he wanted to claw back into this game, I think it's too late.
I mean, he could he doesn't have examine the specimens, but if he did, he could examine the specimens, the Animus Golem, and the something else, and then play Starfallen Warrior and just wipe up the entire board. But he again only has one Starfallen Warrior and doesn't play examine specimens.
Yeah, so it's and even. I'm going to be honest, I think, even if we did that, I think we're past the point of no return. I think Iton is just too low. Yeah. Even if...
She's up 16 health.
Even if LL's board just, kind of disappeared. And like I said, the board is really not that threatening. It's basically just an Animus Golem.
Yes. Agreed.
So, if that went away, Roan is still going to be doing some good stuff with these red dice.
And that's kind of the point of this deck is, even if the Animus Golem dies, you still have a bunch of little... servos that just roll a bunch of
I just think there's too many random things that are just going to add damage, and even if Ritual Circle plus Federation of Borealist and things like that, it's just not enough healing and shielding. I'd be really surprised if he was able to claw through this one, but of course he's not dead yet, so let's see if he can make a miracle happen. Obviously, we've been saying that Starfallen Warrior, that would be an amazing card if he found it off the top of the deck. He's going to start by oxidizing the shield off the Animus Golem.
I hope he meant to do that with it shielded.
Well, it's got to die, right? So hopefully
yes.
He has another... This should mean he has another way to point damage at Animus
Golem. And LL understands that and is going to immediately activate it, rolling 4 premium dice and a white dice.
Really good play here from LL. Obviously, your opponent is targeting your shielded Animus Golem, so... almost certainly on their next action they're going to kill Animus Golem. So cash it in right now. No reason to get greedy.
And check it out. If let's say that Mario wants to not die this round, he's only at 7 health. He doesn't have time to deal with that Animus Golem.
No.
He needs to get rid of her other permanents and dice and stuff. He doesn't die. At which point she still has Animus Golem in play.
Yeah. So maybe Mario just made a sweet heads-up play here. Maybe he doesn't have a way to kill Animus Golem.
Yeah.
And he just oxidizes it here
so that it
forces the activation early, so that he's less likely to die.
That's honestly a good play.
If he made that play, I'm stoked.
If he made that play and wins the game,
he's
awesome.
a genius.
He's
not going to win the game.
Yeah, that's the really unfortunate.
Really, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to win the game.
But if now he was able to race and then killed Jollia before
in a slightly closer game.
I'm
gonna remember that. I want to do that. I want to do that.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I'm gonna keep that play in my mind for the future. That if you really, if you can't deal with Animus Golem and you just need your opponent to activate, maybe you just take the shield off. And your opponent's gonna feel like they have to activate it unless they can shield it again.
Totally.
Regardless,
so I think Ella's just gonna roll a bunch of dice.
Yeah, we're seeing LL's plan really just kind of come together here, right? That dice advantage plan has really sort of exploded in Mario's face. It's just become a huge issue.
Yep.
His plan of use the gem advantage to get a lot of resources onto the board has worked. I mean, you could look, he has a very sizable board of powerful effects.
Kinda.
Just none of them kill Animus Golem.
I mean, he's got a guy that rolls white, a guy that rolls green, a guy that rolls red-black. It's fine.
Could be better. It could be better.
I will say Ritual Circle and Evergreen Patriarch are good, but
the Ritual Circle is really the main.
By round, what is it? Round four. Having a Ritual Circle and Evergreen Patriarch and not much else is not great.
He has been heavily interacted with.
Oh yeah, totally. I just mean that he's not super far ahead on board or.
Yeah, this is obviously not the most powerful thing that his deck could be doing. I don't think.
Honestly, in Mono Green, just play a bunch of Eidolons and Evergreen Patriarch is up there in terms of what you can do.
It's too powerful. Yeah, the individual cards are quite good. And,
you card game players them to be good enough.
Yeah, card game players, especially seasoned ones, you'll know that there's something to be said for just playing the good cards.
Yeah.
You don't
totally.
Right, because, for example, in a slightly different world here where,
he dealt with
Mario just oxidizes the Animus Golem because it's a good card and he's playing it and he happened to have it then.
Yep.
This board would be winning for sure.
Totally.
It would be dominantly winning, I would even argue.
I agree.
So
I mean, if nothing else, he'd be up like 15 life.
Yeah, and these advantages that we are seeing him from these permanent staying in play with gems would really start to matter a lot more.
Totally.
But it's just too hard to catch up on the dice advantage front against Jolly Animus Golem, unfortunately. And we can see LL looking down the loaded barrel here. She's got lots of green dice that are rolled up. I see 2 mental damage, 3 mental damage.
It's
total.
2, 2, 1, 1. Yeah, so that's 6.
So I think she had. Well, I think there's draw. 2 of those are.
Oh yeah, are they?
I think that one and that one are drawn.
Oh yeah, probably.
And then I think there's 3 mental damage.
Either way, she's using Prolific Tutor to grab the red counter from Animus Golem and stick it on Jollia, so that when Jollia activates, she'll roll green, 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 red, red, white, and then put a counter on Doside Thug or whatever, and then activate that. Oh, she even still has Talpen Enforcers to activate, which is 2.5 dice.
So I think that this is kind of what I meant when I alluded to the fact that it might already be too late.
Yeah.
With totally. Animus Golem. Because even if we deal with Animus Golem at this point, that Jollia is rolling 6 dice.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. And she's full HP.
Yeah, totally.
6 dice is so, and 2 of them are red. It's going to take 2 turns at least for Mario to be able to kill Jollia, minimum, I think. That's assuming he deals with everything else. And I just don't think he can survive that much pressure.
You want to know one of my new, as of a couple days ago, new favorite things to try to do?
I would love to know.
Put 10 blue dice on Animus Golem, and you just can't lose. Because blue dice roll Sabotage and Shield, and if they can't kill Animus Golem or Jollia, you're going off. And so there's a couple ways to roll more blue dice in your hero line.
Yeah.
And so you can play Jollia and some heroes that roll 2 blue dice, and so because you can put the blue Prestige on a green character that rolls green dice, blue dice, and then that right there you go 2 blue dice, and then Jolly activates. Put 2 counters on your Animus Golem, roll more blue dice, and then keep moving them back onto Jollia. I got to a point where Jolly had 6 blue counters on her. Yeah, you can just get to a place where your Animus Golem can't die, but also Jollia can't die because you're just rolling a million blue dice. It's great.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah. Why would we win the game?
Yeah, LL significantly more invested in the kill you strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dice, which I must say I'm a fan of in the timed competitive tournament format.
Ridiculous.
As good as a strategy as getting your opponent to concede is, it is generally considered more effective to kill them.
Really, my point here is that you can build Jollia Animus Golem in a variety of ways.
And there's a lot of sweet things to do.
Just put red counters on them is good. Just put green counters on it is good. But also you can do other neat things if you try.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about this whole Animus Golem Prolific Tutor Jollia engine is how versatile it really is. Yeah. It gives you the ability to really effectively play around what you think your opponent might have in forms of removal or cards or energy retracers or diplomatic maneuvers, anything like that.
Energy retracer can't hit blue dice.
But it really gives you so much freedom of versatility of how you're building your engine.
Yeah.
And what cards you're going to prioritize on. And it gives it a unique feel and experience to play with and against every game. And it's really one of my favorite archetypes because of that.
Yeah, totally. Orchestral Conductor, 5-drop that rolls 4 premium dice is good.
Yeah, this one looks like the card that's here to kill you.
Yeah, totally.
When your opponent is casting this, you probably aren't long for the world.
Oh, at least when it puts on stuff and then they get activated. It's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
This card is it's here to roll red dice. It's here to end the game. There's probably not a whole lot of these cards in LL's deck. If I had to guess, how many orchestral?
It should be 3.
The full 3.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. A little expensive. I would maybe expected to see a little less, but
that's so many red dice.
It's so many red dice. It really is. So I really can't say I'm
just
all
win
that
the
surprised. Game. It does kill. It does look great. It looks really good here.
Yeah.
So. It's hard to complain. I can imagine why we're playing 3 of them if it looks this good often.
Yeah, right.
So
I mean, Mario's still got things to activate. He's still rolling dice that have Sabotage and Shield and other stuff on them.
Yeah.
So I don't think the game's over, but it's...
Yeah, we've seen Mario, I think for these last few turn cycles, he's just been sort of soft passing.
Yeah.
I believe just sort of buying time, waiting for optimal times to activate his various guys.
Yeah, I mean, should probably be activating those.
Yeah, I think LL is just storming way too far ahead.
I think LL does 15 damage this round, and Iton only has 7 health. So
yeah, I'm a little. I think it's a little unlucky that she doesn't have 7 damage showing already.
Yes.
I in fact think it's quite unlucky. She's got 3 red dice showing modify though, so she can resolve that modify 3 the next time she gets an action.
And hitting blue, green, or whatever, and now it's 12 damage in her pool.
Yeah. So she just needs to remove that shield from Iton.
10 damage, I guess.
And then
there's 2 more.
Yeah, Mario's just going to be in a big pickle where he's basically just going to have to spend every single action re-putting the shield or die.
And the other nice thing for LL here is she just does not care at all if Mario goes on the aggressive, because Mario's not dealing 16 damage this round.
She has way too much HP.
Yeah, it's like, sure, Ron will die, Jolly will take, 6 damage or whatever? Doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Game's over.
And here we see LL really adding to that damage suite with a couple 1 damage black dice here, which are so good at just pinging off these shields.
And that's what they do. That's what they do best, and that's what Jolly's energy ability does best. Spend an energy, roll 2 1 damage sides, which takes off 2 shields. All right, so it looks like that is going to be time in the round. I know we don't have a round timer, but we're going to have that on future streams. I think so the way that works in our tournament structure is the round ends, or the
current round will end.
I guess there's 2 different rounds here. The tournament round will end at the end of this round of play.
Yes.
And yeah,
if there is not a victor, then the match ends in a draw.
Exactly.
So, but
I mean, LL's going to win.
I think LL has enough damage to win this round for sure.
I think
so. I think she should be able to squeak through here.
She's going to modify 3 into damage. And
hard to go wrong.
Yep. I think she should have resolved those 2 black modify as well and turned those 2 blue shields into damage. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No real rush, I suppose. Yeah. I think Mario's now he's got 1 open emerald mine and some dice that really don't do anything.
LL still has 3 red dice, a blue dice, and a sentinel to roll.
She could also just activate that sentinel to ping off a shield.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. We're so far and away, it's not mattering.
Easy.
Yeah. So spend 1, take off the shield. Mario has to.
Shield or die. Or I guess we only have 6 physical showing.
If she'd used that 1 mental instead of the 1 physical, it would be 7 showing.
Ooh, you're right.
But now she has 6 in 2 different ways,
which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, game's over.
But
I believe the players
agree
that
enough for Mario to pick it up. So congratulations to LL from a phenomenally well played game there. And I think that means that we are going to...
We know our top 4 now.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break to let all the rest of the matches finish and get the top 4 sorted out and seeded.
Yep.
And,
that means we've got 2 more rounds to watch here tonight.
Yes, there are 2 more rounds. The semifinals and the finals, of course, is going to be the most exciting match of the day, so make sure you stick around for that one.
Yeah.
We will be back in just a couple short minutes with the first match of your top cut, so please do not go anywhere. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Thank you for watching the Manifold here at Aegis in Bellingham, Washington. Our first Player Appreciation Open. It's going great so far. See you in a sec.